And here is a player who goes by Victor for short because he wins so many games. Such a nerd baller. He is.
I am MVP.
I am MVP. And here is a shot of the initial command center at the opposite end of the map, cross positions. He was pretty good last game. Here he is. Let's see if he can show us some good play as well. In this game, I gotta say, in game one, GanZI, you know, I really didn't expect much of him. Like, admittedly, I gotta admit, as much as kind of like the Slayers clan, and he beats MVP on the ladder and all that, I really wasn't expecting a lot, but he really impressed me.
Yeah, he impressed me too. I was actually pretty optimistic about him after Sella told me that he won 2 out of 3 times on the ladder, or so. I don't know exactly what he said. Here's a fan from Wisconsin.
I came from Wisconsin.
Go, University of Wisconsin, in the Madison StarCraft 2 club.
Nice.
It's actually a member of the XPN clan I saw at the bottom there. XPN, a Korean clan on the North American server. Pretty awesome clan. I've played with some of those guys before practice games and hit them on the ladder. Pretty good guys.
Nice. Yeah, we got a lot of foreign fans here today, again, from all over the world. And we got some gas mining for...
We do have some gas mining.
Sorry. Sorry about that. Gas mining for GanZI. Did he go gas first again?
No, he did not. He did go for barracks first, but this time...
Wasn't paying attention. Sorry.
MVP... Actually, he did go gas first. I take it back. I take it back, Moltrap.
Okay.
MVP, it looks like he's going for a gasless expand.
I'll give it back to you.
Thanks. He's going for a gasless
You can
expand.
have it back.
Sorry, he's reading the cheerful, man. I was like, oh yeah, you didn't get gas first.
Cheerfuls are serious business. Cheerfuls are serious business. By the way, if you do come down here to the studio, if you're in Seoul, and you draw cheerful, you just wave it around, and usually the camera guys will put you on screen.
Yeah, actually, no one's ever had a bad experience.
Well, one person did have a bad experience with that, but I don't want to talk about that.
Okay. I don't know about that, Moltrap. And it looks like GanZI is going to go ahead and get a second gas immediately here as he makes his factory. So we may see a similar build out of him. Now, MVP, though, has started his command center, making it on the high ground rather than the low ground. Always safe to do when you don't know exactly what your opponent's up to. He's going to take his gases now. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, when you do a gasless expand, you make both of your gases at the same time after you make the command center. You know, a lot of people talk about the gasless expand, and then suddenly you're like, oh, I'm a new player, I'm going to try this expand. It's a really macro build, and then you like don't make any gas forever. You start your gas pretty much right after your command center is started, both of them at the same time. And TBT, you've got to get those gases up. You can't just stick with the no gas.
Nope. You need the gas here.
Unless
TBT.
you pull something crazy and just make a ton of barracks like Random King does sometimes at the Gom House.
That guy's pretty nuts, though.
He is pretty nuts.
Why are you doing this crazy strategy? My style.
Yeah, he always
my style.
My style. Really good player. Maybe we'll see him in the GSL if he ends up qualifying for Code A.
Yeah, he's actually in Grandmasters.
Yeah.
About middle ranking.
He's a random player. That's why he's called Random King.
Is that why he's called it?
Yeah. I thought you knew.
Oh.
Looks like GanZI is going to go for Banshees again. We'll see if he does the fake Caduceus reactor again.
Caduceus reactor. I have to admit, like, I knew that there was an upgrade for the energy. I did not know.
Yeah, it increases the starting energy of Medivac by 25.
I did not know that it was called the Caduceus reactor.
It is. In fact, there's durable materials and the Corvid reactor, the other two upgrades.
It sounds like what. Hold that thought.
Oh my
God! What
God.
the heck? How did these guys get in here? He was trying to block.
This is what happens when you go gas first, man.
He was trying to block Reapers from jumping up there, and oh, he might lose his tech lab researching the cloak. Oh, barely repairs it. Sends some SCVs and his 3 Marines to battle those Marines, but man, maybe you don't need gas in TBT after all.
First Banshee does pop out. The Marines will get cleaned up, but that was a scary call. Sometimes you can do this in matchup where you just move out with your Marines.
I was like, oh, he's just like posturing with these Marines. I did not actually expect him to just run up the ramp with those Marines, and he did. I was like, what's going on? Sorry.
It's like when you do a 3-stalker rush in PvP, and then your opponent just doesn't make enough stalkers. You just like run up the ramp with the stalkers, and like, I don't know what to do. I can't do anything. There's stalkers in my base. Did get that Banshee out just in time. The cloak will finish, and MVP definitely knows about it. And since he went for a gasless expanse, it's going to be relatively hard for him to defend his starport's just now finishing up as the Banshee arrives. So just want to get that Viking out ASAP. Turret going up as well, so this Banshee is going to have to be microed extremely well. Cloak is done. Is he going to go for the SCVs?
Oh.
Nice scan. Oh, man, a little bit sloppy.
Oh, GanZI runs back into range while the scan was still up. Instead of staying out until the scan wore off, the turret might have detected him anyway, to be honest, but a little bit of a mistake by GanZI, losing that Banshee when he clearly didn't have to.
Yeah, in fact, I almost would have canceled the Cloak when your opponent knows you're going Cloak. Even if he goes for a gasless expand, he's going to be ready for it, most likely. If he's not, it's kind of silly. And MVP is anything but silly.
Not silly at all. His uniform, maybe a little, but
yeah,
MVP himself,
that may be a
not.
little silly, but otherwise he's all serious, no funny business.
No funny stuff.
Here comes another Banshee. He's going to pick off 2 Marines, but it looks like MVP is well prepared this time. In fact, even has a Viking out. Second one about to pop out.
Checking for SCVs at the Nat. Nothing there. Uh-oh. Oh, that was close. Marines and the Viking closing in on that Banshee. It looks like the Banshee's going to run out of energy, though. It was a fresh Banshee. Fresh out of the starport. Did not have much energy.
Fresh out of the starport.
Yeah.
The GanZI moving out in the middle
fresh
of the map.
off the grill.
GanZI moving out in the middle of the map. Your terrible jokes will not cut me off any longer.
Sorry.
He was trying to do a push with that Cloak Banshee, I think, but MVP has already macroed up a pretty good force. His timing was a little off, and this is a huge map, so MVP was just able to squeeze out the units he needed to hold it.
And I mean, sometimes you often see players go for the SCVs with their Banshees. It's a more longer-term thing to do, but sometimes you do see them just go in and like kill as many Marines as possible, so that follow-up push is more effective.
Exactly.
So he might have been thinking about that, but he didn't get enough damage done with the Banshee.
Yeah, there's one more Banshee back here. Gonna target down some SCVs as she can. Wants to run away. Does not want to get hit by those 3 Vikings. And there are actually plenty of scans saved up for MVP. He's got 4 scans saved up. But the push from GanZI is getting closer. Looks like he may want to try to sneak around here at the rocks. He's sieging up now. Yeah,
really putting on some pressure here on MVP. Sieging up right outside of his base. Going with Banshees in the front and the backs. SCV doing some damage in the, Banshee rather, doing some damage to SCVs in the back while the one in the front gets picked off by a scan. And the one in the back, goes within range of the turret, and the Vikings do some damage. Let's see if he scans to finish that off.
Those Vikings are persistent. Oh, they're not that persistent.
Nope.
They turned around right when they said, they're like, no, we're not. Don't call us names.
They're like, they're in the rebellious phase. You know, they're like teenage Vikings, and when the casters say they want them to do something, they just do the opposite. Just
they're not fresh out of the starport anymore.
No.
They're starting to get to that adolescent phase. Pretty soon they're going to learn that they can land. They don't have to fly all the time. It's like, you got to fly, like, and he's like, no, I don't have to. You can't make me. I can land right now.
I'm going to land. You take off this instant. Go into flight mode. Go into fighter mode right now, young man. GanZI is falling back. MVP taking the opportunity to push forward.
But GanZI has a supply lead because he's done so much damage with those Banshees. It hasn't really been that he's killed that many SCVs. In fact, they're both at 45 SCVs right now. But he's picked off so many Marines that he's starting to kind of get ahead a little bit.
This is kind of like what you would call chest beating by MVP. He's like, oh, I'm gonna get you, and GanZI doesn't realize he has a bigger army. Hold that thought.
Oh man, he
sieges up at the same time. Oh, a little bit better positioning on the tanks for MVP. GanZI has more Marines though.
Yeah, and MVP does have those Vikings, which will grant him vision of the siege tanks. Forced to lift some barracks. They're too close. Nice positioning by MVP. GanZI did some nice Marine splits, though, to tank some damage, so he got a few extra shots off, so that was pretty nice.
It looks like GanZi's going to, because MVP's on the side there, he's going to go up to the high ground and at least try and take that high ground advantage, although, like you said, with those Vikings there, high ground advantage actually is kind of useless.
Yeah, it can be pretty negligible. It looks like MVP is going to get a little bit closer, targeting down that factory now in the main. And once the factory is under fire, you know you're in trouble. Got to move that. Can't make any more tanks.
Yeah, his tank took a hit coming out of that factory because it was just, you know, the tanks were so close to that factory.
Yeah, because they were fresh out of the factory.
Yeah, fresh out of the factory. And Dr. MVP gave it a spank on the bottom. Quick did a third of its damage, but got it breathing.
Made him cry.
Made him cry. Wow. GanZI has a lot of barracks, by the way. He's making lots and lots of Marines. He's staying consistently ahead. He's got almost double the Marine count, and that's part of why he's staying ahead in the supply count, despite MVP having more Vikings.
Yeah, and he started his medevac production as well. I think he just wants to stick with a relatively Marine-heavy composition. He does have Stim. 49 Marines to 29 Marines right now, so he's got such an advantage that if he attacks at the right moment, can beat MVP's siege tank army.
Oh, whoa. Watch out. Do not want to accidentally walk into sieged up tanks.
Yeah, very, very smart move by GanZI. He just realizes, I don't know if there are siege tanks there or not.
You saw the Vikings.
He's like, I see the Vikings. You probably have the Zelnaga Watchtower. Do not want to go near that.
Exactly.
And as a rule in TBT, if you don't hold the Zelnaga Watchtower, it's a general rule to just avoid it. Don't go near it. If you don't know what's there, don't go over there.
Yeah, it's always a good rule of thumb because the tanks just have so much range. With the tower, they can make use of it. MVP really just kind of maneuvering around the map, and GanZI, he's got a little bit more mobile force with the Marines. Oh, he stims and takes out. Oh, that was actually kind of bad. He stimmed a lot of his Marines and took out only one Viking, and there's a drop that gets spotted by MVP. Wonder if he's going to send his Vikings back.
Yeah, well, he is kind of preparing. He lowered his depots back at home, starting some turrets. And I think that GanZI is going to actually rejoin that with his forces.
Oh, never mind. I'm sorry, he didn't stim all of his Marines, just several. Sorry. That would have been bad because he only has one medevac to heal him up. Uh-oh, both players. Oh, so close. Now GanZI is going to try and siege up on the low ground. He's not within range of any buildings.
Yeah, but this time he has medevacs.
Oh, and there's the site disadvantage at work. GanZI losing 2 tanks for free. Yep. For nothing, I guess.
Oh, allowing his tanks to get shot a few more times.
That was really bad.
And, he had those medevacs, but you can't use them as well when your opponent has Vikings there. And notice that MVP didn't build any of his structures near the edge right there because he predicted that at some point that could happen.
Yeah. This is really nuts. I want to point out, this is crazy that GanZI is just getting his third base. Terminus is usually an incredibly macro-oriented map, but these players have actually been so close for this entire game that they have not been able to afford the extra 400 minerals to get another base. I think they probably should have made a little bit more time for that, but it's been very, very close. And GanZI sieging up again, kind of in the middle of the map. Both players posturing in the middle.
GanZI did lose control of that Zelnaga Watchtower. He keeps trying to retake it with Marines so he can have that vision. Now MVP has total control over that Watchtower.
Yeah, GanZI does have some Vikings out now, so he's not at quite the disadvantage he was before.
Oh no, MVP getting a little too close to the siege tanks. Losing a lot of hit points on those tanks, giving GanZI somewhat of an advantage.
Whoa, I seriously held my breath there for a moment to see if they were within range to get another volley off. So GanZI takes a couple of hits for free, and he stims in while MVP is unsieged. Is he going to fall back, though? Yeah, he does fall back. Loses a lot of Marines in the process, but gets his tanks in good position. And both players scanning to get vision and trading tank blows. I think GanZI came out a little bit ahead in that, though.
Well, one thing to note is that GanZI definitely has air superiority now. Did take out a lot of those Vikings. He's got 3 Vikings now, whereas MVP has none. Well, none near his army at any case.
Uh-oh. This is always a dangerous place when you have the armies in opposite positions from each other's bases to each other.
But GanZI
Are they going to go for attacks?
Yeah, both players actually do have a little bit to defend, but we could have somewhat of a base trade situation here.
Oh my gosh. We are going to see a base trade. GanZI stimming into the natural of MVP. He only has the 1 tank there, and he falls back before killing it, so he's losing a lot of Marines. MVP charging in, but GanZI has 3 tanks there, is absolutely slaughtering MVP's Marines at his own base. GanZI, in the meantime, still pressing into MVP's base with several tanks, taking out SCVs. GanZI is actually way ahead in this base trade.
Actually, GanZI's in a position where he actually can hold this off if he does it right, whereas MVP is in such a bad spot back at his base, it's almost like there's no chance he's going to be able to keep his base alive. He does have those 2 tanks at the top of the ramp, but GanZI clearly has enough to deal with that. In fact, use that Viking superior vision to just get down there, start taking that stuff out, and it looks like GanZI is forced to lift at his natural, but he's still mining from his 3rd base because MVP was a little bit hesitant now running in to target down some of those SCVs. SCVs trying to make the Marines die from Splash. Didn't quite work out.
This game is balanced on a knife edge right now. I seriously was literally just sitting there holding my breath with my mouth open, like eyes wide, just like staring at the screen, waiting to see if one player wipes out the other. GanZI gonna lose all of his Marines down here. It's overstimmed and did not have medevacs. So MVP cleans up the attack, and it looks like we're not gonna see a full-on game-ending base trade after all.
Yeah.
Both players equalizing at 50 supply, but MVP has control of his NAT again, whereas GanZI does not.
Now, MVP only has 1 CC though. He's lifted up his main command center. He's landing it at his natural. Whereas GanZI has 2 command centers, both of them of course orbital, so he's gonna have the extra mules. As far as SCVs go, 25 SCVs for GanZI, only 8 SCVs for MVP.
Yeah.
So if GanZI can retake his base, and he has a cloak Banshee!
Yeah!
If he retakes his natural, he should be extremely ahead.
And $5 says that, never mind. It's a good thing I didn't finish that sentence because I would have lost $5. Here he is charging down with SCVs and Marines to wipe out this natural. If he can retake his natural, he'll have a huge lead. And he does clear out all of MVP's tanks. He's going to finish off those Marines.
And it looks like he's actually just going to attack now. He doesn't need to. Oh, I take it back. He landed his main over there. I was like, what is he doing with those SCVs?
Oh,
terrible idea. And it looks like going to lose one of his command centers over there.
GanZI, it does lose it.
That was actually an insignificant command center because I didn't even think that command center existed. I told you there were 2 command centers. There were 3. That one was being built over there.
That was the one from his third. I think he floated it over there.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, man. So MVP now with 9 SCVs. GanZI with 16. And what I was going to say is, $5 says that MVP landed a mule already and doesn't have a scan, but somehow he had a scan still.
Well, I was so far behind, he needs to use those
mules.
He can't afford to use scans.
Exactly.
And there's 1 Banshee out still with Cloak. So he's going to have to be very careful about how he manages those scans.
Yeah, and GanZI still has a second orbital, like you said. He's going to land at the natural and be able to mine there, too. GanZI is actually way ahead.
He is really ahead.
He's 50 supply to 28.
Yeah, and it looks like MVP is going to try to attack here at the third base, I guess you could say, of GanZI. But he's got it well defended. He's got Marines to buffer. He's got 2 siege tanks. MVP is going to have to go home. Well, what's he going to do at home? He's going to sit down? He's like browsing TL because there's nothing left to do.
He's going to go home and watch GSL on Gunplayer.
That's what he's going to do.
And look at that, 2 medevacs are out, which means GanZI is going to easily win this Marine battle versus the one of MVP. If he picks off that medevac, he does! That was so huge. Now MVP on the run.
Yeah, MVP.
Full retreat.
He's going to have to pull out a miracle, an incredible miracle, to be able to come back in this game because he...
And MVP
GG.
leaves the game. Says, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Knows that was bearing down on him. And, wow. Slayers GanZI 1 game away from upsetting my MVP champion. Wow. Wow. This is actually... Can you believe that, man? Huge base trade and everything, and like, nuts.
That was pretty nuts. You have to remember, too, that...
Not I am nuts.
You keep saying nuts, and I keep wanting to make that joke, but I never did.
I'm sorry.
What happened to him, anyways? He fell out of Code A, right? He has to requalify.
I'm going to double check that. I believe he was.
But anyways, that game was pretty crazy. And MVP, he lost that game. He lost to Creator as well and almost got knocked out there. So I'm starting to think maybe Moletrap MVP, I don't want to say he's losing his touch, but he's maybe a little overconfident in this tournament.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that happens to a lot of top-level players in general, is once you get to a certain point where you're like, oh, I'm unbeatable. Wow. Then you stay that way for like another little bit, but it really, really does take its toll. I mean, some of the top players, once they hit their like top level, they often go into a slump right after they win their championship.
They get frustrated too when they play like, oh, it's the same thing I play every day. I can't get better. Why am I not improving? Everyone around me is improving, but I'm not. And it gets really tough. I mean, I might even say that we have a similar situation with the MC right now where he thought he was the best and he was really, really confident. In fact, just almost overconfident sometimes in interviews and his presence at the studio here and everything else.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's not doing very well anymore.
I mean, because the thing is I'm not saying like MVP's in a slump necessarily or anything, but you get to a point where you really reach your stride, and after that, you've got, like you said, there's like nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Like you don't have as much reason or direction to get better.
And part of the problem is,
and everyone else gets better and catches
and
you.
exactly, everyone else is getting better around you. You don't know why. And part of the problem is you're the best, so no one gives you as much advice. You know, no one's going, "Oh, MVP, you need to work on this, 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 and this." And he's like, "Oh, I'm the best, duh." I mean, like, who's going to tell me what I need to improve on? And I mean, I say that in kind of a joking way, but a lot of the time it's hard to find improvements for people. And when you have this, you know, someone seems superior to you, it's hard. It's kind of you're kind of a little bit nervous to tell, like, "Hey, MVP, you know, maybe you need to make Banshee in that one situation," or you know, maybe you need to do a different build because GanZI might get you if you do the build that you're doing right now, what you've got planned.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely. Hopefully, well, at least MVP isn't going 14 Command Center every game.
Not quite.
Like some top-level Terrans who were unbeatable, named Flash, who started losing because they were doing silly stuff. Or like you said with MC. He's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna Nexus first. I'm gonna one-gate Nexus against a very high-level Terran player, Pult Prime." And
Pult Prime.
Oh no, I got owned. How did that happen? I'm supposed to be unbeatable.
Pult Prime's also a player who is really well known for doing aggressive builds and oftentimes all-ins. So, kind of strange. So, you know, there's these weird choices that you make every now and then when you get to be a top-level player. You get a little overconfident. And you feel yourself like everyone's afraid of you, but they're not. They're not scared of you.
They're not scared anymore.
Not scared anymore.
Yeah, so
we're saying all these things, and it's hard for us to really make these judgments. We're not saying like MVP is in a slump or he's actually having all these problems, but we were wondering maybe is he having these problems?
You know what? Here's a funny thing. Here's a little funny fact. Yeah, we're just kind of theorizing there now. That's a good point to make. We're just kind of like shooting the breeze, thinking about what could be going on with MVP. You know, losing the Code A finals. That was the bomber, of course. But I mean, of course, the other side of things. We're like saying, oh, maybe MVP is like not at his top level anymore. Maybe GanZI is just really good and we don't know it.
Yeah.
You know? And here's the funny thing I was going to say. GanZI actually lost to I Am Nuts in the first round of Code A. So Nuts is going to be back next season. And GanZI won't because of Nuts.
That's kind of funny. That's kind of nuts.
It is.
Little trap.
Speaking of Nuts, Game 3 is going to be on Zelnaga Caverns. Let's see who will close out the series and advance to the round of 16 here at the GSL Super Tournament.